It's hard to believe, but the insurrection at the Capitol was now 100 days ago. 5 people died, including a Capitol police officer. So much has happened since January 6th. There's extra security around the Capitol. Fencing is still there. So is the National Guard. And there have been a lot of arrests. More than 400 suspected rioters are facing charges for their roles in the attack. And we just learned about the first guilty plea in the insurrection. Ryan Schaffer has pleaded guilty to multiple felonies. That includes breaching the Capitol and obstruction of an official proceeding. The 53-year-old admits he forced his way into the Capitol to stop the certification of the Electoral College count while wearing a tactical vest and carrying bear spray. He also acknowledged that he is a founding, lifetime member of the Oath Keepers and agreed to cooperate against others in the case. Schaffer could face possible prison time of up to 30 years.